These people. You ready? Warm. Yes. Morning, everyone. You'll follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, just come before you today, asking you to watch over this meeting, be with everyone here as they go about their duties through this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
I now call the Linn County Commission to order for the Monday, May 20th, 2024 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion, we pay the claims in the amount of $770,841.48.
Okay. I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay the claims in the amount of $770,841.48. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Some abatements.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ads and abates 2023 for 291 through 295 for a negative total of $6,943.74.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ad and abates 2023-291 through 295 for a total of a negative $6,943.74. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Then we need to reschedule next week's meeting to Tuesday because of Memorial Day. So, motion for that.
I'll make a motion, we reschedule next week's meeting for Tuesday because of Memorial Day at 9 a.m. on Tuesday.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to reschedule the regular May 27th meeting to Tuesday, May 28th at 9 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And other than that, I just had the sheriff's report and
Okay.
fire and all those things, so.
Sheriff's report for May 20th. Total prisoners in at 57, 22 releases this past week. Total farmed out of 0, total farmed in of 47. Total 911 calls of 89. Total jail contacts 4,848. Total calls for service of 523. Total civil service papers served of 31. Then inspections 3, new cases open 12, cases closed 3, vehicle crashes 4, SRO activity 73 calls for service, bailiff contacts 162 with 64 calls for service, and only 8 livestock out this week. AMR, Don? Good morning.
Morning, Don Brooks with American Medical Response. Our monthly ambulance report through May 17th. We had 1 call in Greeley, 1 transport, 4 calls Blue Mound, 1 transport, 2 calls in Centerville, 1 transport, 13 calls in Lacine, 6 transports, 2 calls Linn Valley, 2 calls transported, 10 calls in Mound City, 5 calls transported, 11 calls in Parker, 5 transported, 9 in Pleasanton, 7 transported, 5 in Prescott, 3 transported, total of 55 responses and 30 transports. Any questions for me?
I don't have any.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you, Don. Brandy? Fire?
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Hegwald, Linn County Rural Fire Emergency Management. Call totals for last week was 3 calls, brings our year-to-date total to 235. I just want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks will be putting on a poisonous and venomous organisms of eastern Kansas talk tomorrow at 6:30 at the Pleasanton Community Center. One thing is if there's severe weather, Wildlife and Parks will not travel. So if there's a chance of severe weather, just kind of watch our Facebook page. We'll update it as soon as we know one way or the other, but they did, severe weather was going to cancel it. Last week met with KDM on the flood conditions and update on that. The governor did sign a declaration for Kansas. They were still kind of going through, make sure we meet the federal threshold in Kansas. The one thing we got to remember on that is to get a presidential declaration, we still may not see that until October, November. So road damage, any kind of damage like that, we're looking at probably 2 years before we get reimbursed on that. And I've been meeting with Sean and talking to Sean, trying to get the list of all the damages and stuff like that. And one thing that I kind of stressed to Sean was the overtime. Usually FEMA only reimburse overtime for the first 72 hours of emergencies. So any overtime that's done after that, FEMA will not reimburse that.
Okay.
The other thing on that is if a employee takes comp time, they won't reimburse that overtime if they're taking comp time. It has to be paid out. And that's one thing that the KDM guy was pushing last week because they've run into it. And most of the work to go through and fix the roads and stuff, that's to pre-existing conditions. So if there was a culvert that washed out before, they're not going to pay for that. So just kind of some of the stuff I've been hitting with Sean, but just kind of give you guys up to date as far as you probably won't, even if the president signs the declaration, you will not see money this year coming in. So everything you're spending out this year will affect this year's budget. So he was giving me some examples of the other counties, and they were 2 years out before they seen any kind of money come in from the government. So
Okay.
just want you guys to kind of be aware of that part of it. That's all I have unless you guys have questions on that.
Did you look any more into that fire truck?
Yes, what it is they've ordered one, and they put it up there not expecting for anybody to even be interested in it. So they're trying to get me a hard date. Hey, this is when we can get rid of it.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm waiting on there before we move forward on it. So
Okay.
if they give me a date 2 years out, it's kind of not worth it, or even maybe worth it trying to get them hold it, deposit or something like that. But that's what I'm waiting, is just a hard date from their city council up there. So
Have we got anywhere on the mutual aid agreements with the cities?
we're going through some of that right now. Kind of been dealing with a new council and new mayor stuff in Pleasanton. That's kind of affected that mutual aid agreement a little bit. So now we're going to address that and move forward on that one.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. Thank you.
So it's scheduled the executive session pretty early on there. And Mark was wanting to go ahead and do that early in the meeting.
Executive session.
Yes, sir. If that's convenient to the commission,
How long?
I think it would be 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
It could be shorter, but if we do 30 minutes, then we'll definitely cover everything on the list.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for legal advice with county counsel and David Lamb. Returning at 9:40 for 30 minutes.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for legal advice with the county counselor and David Lamb, county clerk, until 9:40. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. 10 minutes? 10 more? 20? Okay. We're back on? Okay. I make a motion that we go back into executive session for another 20 minutes, extending our legal executive session.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to extend our legal executive session by 20 minutes, returning at 10:01. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We have no action from executive session. 10 o'clock, we're going to open it up for public comment. A citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes, and the commission will not take action at this time. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items for a later time and date. Is there any public comment? Okay. Come up to the podium, state your name, who you're with.
My name is Keith Tucker. I'm with Farmers National Company, a land management company, and I represent UMB, a landowner here in Linn County, UMB Bank, who is trustee for the Michael Wayne Hudson Share Trust. And they own multiple tracts in this county, but one in particular on the Hells Bend. Everyone knows it as Hells Bend. I think it's 2300 Road, where the bridge issue is currently being discussed last week. And I would just like to ask for reconsideration, I guess, to accept the grant from KDOT. It's my knowledge that the KDOT funds were approved multiple years ago and been trying to get some bids, and that offer might expire soon from KDOT, is my understanding in the past week. And we'd just like to ask for reconsideration simply because my client owns that land back there, and it generates a significant source of income for their beneficiary, and just from the farming operation. And currently that bridge apparently has a fracture and has been continuously getting declined on the rating for how much we can haul across it. And currently it doesn't even support what a tractor and planter would weigh legally. And so we're just kind of at a loss right now of how we're going to continue to operate if this bridge doesn't get rebuilt or repaired. So anyway, that's my comment. And
Okay, thank you. Is there other public comment?
My name's Brandon Milliron. We farm one of the tenants on the Hudson Trust back there at Hells Bend. And, that farm represents a substantial part of our operation. And with the tractors and everything, the equipment of today's farming, it weighs more than what the bridge is rated for. So we just asked for, like Keith said, a reconsideration for accepting the funding so that we can safely continue to operate back there. Thank you.
Okay. Other public comment?
Hi.
Hello.
Shannon Privet. I'm the real estate manager for UMB Bank in regards to, the bridge again. This not only would be a significant loss for Brandon as our farmer on this property, but it is a significant loss for our beneficiary who we have to maintain their standard of living until they're passing, and then it continues on. So repairing this bridge is not only an income source for him, but future beneficiaries down the road. And it would just be better suited for us to be able to provide our fiduciary duty and having proper access to our land. I know there is a neighbor who owns the conservation easement, and we spoke on Friday as well, Frank, and he is all in favor of this too, because it would affect him as well. So if there's anything that we can do to repair and or fix this bridge, we would truly appreciate it and be welcome to hear anything.
Thank you.
Get your last name.
Privet, Privett.
Thank you. Is there more public comment?
Yeah, my name's Henry Ferguson. I own land on the other side of where the bridge is. And if they condemned the bridge, it wouldn't have access to the land and to the house. So I hated to see that in the very beginning, when the bridge was built, that it had some structural defects in the beginning of the design. And that's one of the reasons why now it's having more trouble is they had a defect in the design of the bridge the way I understood it. And I hated to see something like that happen because the bridge, I mean, I know it's not no new bridge, but it's not no really old bridge either. But anyway, it would help myself and other people if the bridge was rebuilt. Because I don't know how we get there if they don't put the bridge up there. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that there, and I appreciate the thoughts.
Do we have any other comment? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Okay. Next up, Sean?
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. After the last meeting, at your request, I contacted KDOT in reference to the Hells Bend project. I was contacted midweek by Todd Salfrank, the local projects bureau chief. We discussed it at length, the process, and he advised me with the funding and the efforts that stated made at this point, that he asked me to advise you that the funding mechanism for this bridge will disappear tomorrow. That KDOT's stance on it is that the funding is available until tomorrow's date. They again extended it into this week through last week's deadline, and that's their position. But as the bureau chief, he assured me that the funding would cease tomorrow for this project. Road graders are, and still today are preparing for dust control. That is going to be laid out 21 and 22. If rain delays occur, it will be 22 and 23. Currently, along with dust control, we have trees down in several areas, so operators are removing large trees from the roadway and trying to clear limbs and passages from last night's storm. We have one grader also down today being serviced by CAT. As far as grader operations and grader reports, last week or over the last week, we had 115.6 overtime hours put in by operators in different districts across the county to aid in the completion of the task and getting those roads reconditioned. Year to date in 2024, we've had 209 service requests open. 34 of those remain open. Those are going to be your long-term projects that haven't been taken off the list. 209 open, 34 remaining open at this time. Those are long-term projects that haven't been got to or been scheduled. Some tubes and other projects that are being scheduled out in the future to be done when time's available. Last week, we opened 21 service requests. 14 of those have been closed already, and 7 remain open. Again, those would be projects that would be scheduled for a later date. Randy covered our discussions on KDEMs, and Call Valley reached out to me in reference to our landfill project. As you remember, through our on-call agreement, made arrangements for them to start the engineering processes at the landfill, and they are doing the preliminary design for the transfer station. Randy Purdue sent the appendix or
Exhibit A of that on-call agreement. If you remember our on-call agreement on projects like this, calls for an attached exhibit for each one of those projects in the agreement for services. Based on that contract we have with them and his discussion with yourselves, he's asking for our signature. They've listed it out for me to sign a $26,000 agreement for preliminary design services, which is what he quoted you when he came here. And I'm needing some direction as to that appendix or addition to that, the services.
We're still moving forward with this on the tipping floor at the landfill.
I'm good with that.
Danny?
Yep.
Okay, I am too. I'll make a motion that we allow Sean to sign the Exhibit A service authorization with Call Valley Engineering for the preliminary design of the new transfer station for $26,000.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to allow Sean to sign the service authorization Exhibit A with Call Valley Engineering for the preliminary design of the new transfer station for $26,000. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, other than the overtime and the service request, is there any other information you'd like in your weekly reports?
How many miles, what percent of the roads are done, Sean?
I don't have a percentage, but if you are wanting me to add that to the report, then I'll add that to the report as far as percentages. My question would be as far as done, I don't know as far as the level of service.
Hit yet. So
Okay.
that's what.
Are you wanting the first passes, or what you're asking is, are they serviceable or are they finished with those road projects?
Well, I thought last week we talked about getting over all the roads, right? Grading all the roads.
We discussed all those roads and we discussed overtime that the operators are putting in to try to complete that.
That's what I want to know, where we're at on it.
Okay. So you want a completion report?
I see a lot of roads that haven't been hit yet.
Okay. I'll try to get a level of completion and something to bring to you as well on that.
Well, I want to talk about dust control first. How are we considering dust control right now when our roads are in the condition they are? I talked about this last week too. I have my computer, I had a PowerPoint ready and I forgot it at home, but there's roads in my district that have been hit that the grader's been over and there's still a 9-inch trench on the side of the road on both sides. I just don't understand how we're going to take everybody and prep roads on the 20th and 21st.
That's when
To do a luxury item that we provide.
that's when it's scheduled to be laid down by the companies.
And we haven't tried to move this date back or anything like that. I mean, we're not going to have a whole lot of dust right now. It's raining out. I just don't feel like that we're doing this right. And it's very frustrating, John. I got 37 phone calls last week. A lot of this stuff we're talking about, I can't even get to yet. Or give it, my undivided attention because I'm dealing with roads. I'm being tagged on Facebook on videos of what our roads look like after the graders went through. On Saturday, me and my two boys went around all day long, and I videoed and took pictures. And I was going to present this morning and forgot my computer, but the way we're doing it's not working. And I have no explanation to, when people call me, I can't give them a plan. I say, I don't know. That's not okay. I talked about 3 weeks ago about trying to put together a ditch crew or a crew to go through and check all the culverts. I thought we talked about, putting them on, right then and there and getting it going. And now you're saying that's going to happen on the 27th?
I'm sorry, 27th for,
Is that what you told us last week?
The ditch crew, or the started ditching, that was on your report. That was what
that was for
top foreman said that he would be starting.
for the 4 miles that you had requested of ditching for each one of the areas.
Okay.
And we were going to give 30 days to do it? Is that,
That's correct.
now we're already 3 weeks into it and we have nothing?
Well, my understanding is they've located those areas, they've called in locates for those areas, and they're scheduling those areas to be completed. But as I said, they've put in 115 hours of overtime with the operators just this week. I know we had crews out Saturday and Sunday in graders.
And I'm not taking away from them because I've heard a lot of, oh, you don't think we're doing our job. I think that they're doing their job just as the best they can with what we're giving them. It starts with us up here and we're not doing our job correctly. That's my opinion. I'm not saying, I'm speaking for me. I'm not doing my job correctly. I can't answer to anybody when they call me. 37 phone calls in 1 week.
And to that, I would agree. It starts here in this room.
And I've been very vocal for the last 3 weeks and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all.
Well,
And employees come up here and get upset because I talk about dust control, moving it back. That's a luxury item. I pay taxes. Everybody pays taxes. So we're going to take people off the main roads and just go do dust control for a week when the roads are in emergency status right now, right?
okay,
That's not okay. That's not.
but we've taken.
I have trenches in the side of my road. I have videos of it that where my side-by-side is sitting like this. If a car hit it, it would rip the front end off the car.
Okay.
But we're going to go do this luxury item I'm sorry, we're going to have to move it back. I don't agree with it.
Well, if that's something that,
And if in my opinion, if we're doing it correctly, what kind of prepping do we need to do for the road if we have our graders on the road constantly going through it? We take our graders off to go do work order items, correct?
if they're emergencies, yeah.
But the work orders aren't being done correctly. I have pictures of the site where like the water was crossing the road. There's 14 inches of dirt on each side of the road. We created a pond. That's not fixing it.
Okay, by dirt on the side of the road, are you talking about the windrows that are pushed from side to side, or?
Well, the road's pushed out 17 feet on each side because of our gravels over there, but
Do we want to
I want to get a
do a
plan.
personnel executive session to address these issues?
That'd probably be, yeah.
Okay. With Sean, we have the Mulberry Limestone CUP on the agenda at 10:20. Do you care if we take care of that before we go back into executive session? Is that okay? Jim?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Darren?
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Wilson, Planning and Zoning. Mulberry Limestone, case number 24-01. You sent back to Planning and Zoning a request of a minimum setback from the road right-of-way of 200 feet. Planning and Zoning sent a recommendation back, a minimum 200-foot setback from any road right-of-way or property line. Such setback shall not apply to any property line adjoining to applicant's property who provides the county with a written waiver from the setback and release from liability
satisfactory to the county. That passed with a vote of 6-3. So if I could, can I recap all the conditions that were set forth by planning and zoning?
Please.
The use shall be operated as proposed on submitted plans and documents in compliance with Linn County zoning regulations and all local, state, and federal regulations affecting such businesses. The conditional use be reviewed and renewed at the end of 5 years from approval date. All state permits will be kept on file with Linn County Planning and Zoning Office. Hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Heavy equipment hours of operation shall not include maintenance on equipment, loading or unloading of equipment for transport operation that occurs indoors or operations necessitated by emergency situations. No storage of explosives, ingress and egress to 2400 road and to be concreted. Road maintenance agreement set by Board of County Commissioners. Dust control, berms and buffers to be seeded with grass. Pre-blast surveys done to residents in the area and cost incurred by query and done annually. A minimum 200-foot setback from any road right-of-way or property line. Such setback shall not apply to any property line adjoining to applicant's property who provides the county with a written waiver from the setback and release from liability satisfactory to the county.
Okay. Questions for Darren?
What about the trees? What size of trees and stuff supposed to be planted?
So they just said seeded with grass.
I thought we was gonna we talked about trees, I mean, that been put on them.
I understand, but planning and zoning said seeded with grass. Now you can add to this if you want trees. The commissioners can add trees to this setback or to the buffer zone.
So by statute, law, whatever you want to call it, this went to planning and zoning and you brought it to us because you had to present it back to us after their findings, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just gonna say, I got a few emails about it. I got, your emails. I haven't not been able to give this the proper attention this last week. So I'm not prepared at all to even discuss it. So I have not had time to review the emails or anything on it. So
You're making a motion that we table this until next week?
I'd make a motion that we table it until next week. What's it look like, David?
We have about 10 to 10:20 tied up, but other than that, I don't have anything on there yet.
You okay with that?
I'm good with that. Sweet.
Okay. Will you second that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to table the Mulberry Limestone CUP until next week. At what time we'll add on the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I would also like to make a recommendation if you're going to take a week to think about it. Since we have a road maintenance agreement set by Board of County Commissioners in the resolution, it doesn't stipulate what that is. And I had given an example from another county when I first presented this. And if I remember right, it was 10 cents per ton hauled out of the quarry without finding it and reading it exactly. So if you would, please give that consideration to be discussed
Okay.
next week.
And my question in regards to that is how do we make that uniform across all the queries?
So we have non-conforming regulations. What that means is if something exists before a new regulation was set out, that basically non-conforming is a fancy word for grandfathered in. So if you start doing road use agreements now, it falls under the new regulations. And as renewals come in, those will be added to conditions for other queries or whatever it may be.
Which on our renewals, what have we typically been doing prior to you on the queries?
Not much. So
We know-
there hasn't been a lot of conditions added to queries, and this is actually my first one that I've done. I went back in the past and looked at prior ones that were approved, and there wasn't a whole lot of conditions.
So when's our next review for our one that's?
I'll have to pull that up. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay. All right. How long of executive session?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Probably
Thank
a
you,
long
Darren.
time.
30 minutes?
We also need one more legal issue in executive session to talk about too, that Mark and I both have information on, but I don't think that one's probably more than a 5-minute deal or
5 or 10.
5 or 10.
Okay. So a half hour of executive session for non-elected personnel with Sean. And 10 minutes of legal with Mark, our county counselor, and David. So 40 minutes total, returning at 11:10.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to enter executive session for 40 minutes total, 30 for non-elected personnel, 10 for legal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have action from our legal executive session. Would you like to read the
So
motion?
What I had prepared that we needed motion on is a motion to approve and sign a confidential agreement that is protected by attorney-client privilege.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve a motion that is protected by attorney-client privilege. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I'll send it to us to sign.
Either here or whenever, but if you want to do it while you're sitting here, I think
Yep.
that would be fine.
Or Dennis, did you get that email from Chris? Do you want to read that?
Okay. Chris had sent us an email saying that the Civic Ready notification system is now on a line and available for public sign up. There is a link on the county homepage at linncountyks.com.
Thank you.
And the sign up page can be accessed directly by going to https://www.linncountyks.com/notify. Okay. We're going to go back into executive session for non-elected personnel. How much time do we need this time, guys?
What do you think, 30?
Another 30? Okay. I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for non-elected personnel for 30 minutes with Sean, legal counsel, and David, returning to the meeting room at 11:45.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session for 30 minutes for non-elected personnel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have no action from executive session. Do we have anything else to come before this meeting?
Sean, have we heard anything on the reservation at the Linn County Park?
Sorry?
The reservation system at the Linn County Park?
I've not had an update of the reservation system as far as the cabins and the Airbnb situation. I came to you about the lack of an employee. We're ready to move if you'd like to put those on Airbnb as soon as we got a housekeeper that would be available to assist with the cleaning and the prepping of those.
How does our Airbnb income compare to our?
Compared to the other cabins that are not on that, I think I pushed that out to you. I can find it and push it out to you again. But I do not think the cabin that we had on Airbnb did as well as the others as far as rental.
Well, that's because, we only have one on there. At the end of the day, we're negative $12,000 at the lake right now as we set for the year, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
That's not, there's your
But
answer.
we've been that way in prior years too, only to come back and be.
So we should keep
positive.
doing it, we should keep running it like that? I can't turn to the people and say, hey, you pay high taxes because your roads are good. Can't say that no more.
Well, I think seasonally,
We've had a net income, Danny, through here of
But how-
36,000, 41,000.
But have we? Because not everything's included in that. Benefits included in it. The dredging of the lagoons has cost us how much?
that
But
project,
how do we fix it if we're,
Talk about-
are we going to, my question is, if we move them to Airbnb, are we gonna make more money or not?
I don't see how you want it.
So that last report from the park was the end of April, where it, for the year, showed 12,000 loss. Last year, we were at a 22, almost $23,000 loss in the same time period, just for information.
I think if you look at the
We
numbers,
have no online reservation. Okay, let's be honest. You guys think it's running correctly? And I'm not taking away from the manager we have out there. That's not what I'm doing. We have no online reservation. So would you pull your camper down here on a weekend just to see if there was a spot open for you? If you were out of town?
I don't have a camper.
I don't,
But you.
I've never been involved in that.
We're just not taking care of, we're not.
So I think the online reservation that you're talking about, we get a lot of phone calls because of the way it's done with people, like you say, that are out of town wanting to know if we have camping slots. And we don't turn anyone away even on the large weekends because we don't fill up. Now, what they do get is either just electrical only, or they get electric water, but they don't get sewer. So their accommodations, it's more of a benefit to people here locally that pay taxes towards the park to be able to be the first one down and get prime spots by going to a kiosk. And I think that's what attracts the local people to that system. We do get a lot of calls to say, hey, do you have this available before people travel to come here, because there is no online reservation.
It is one of the top 100 lakes in the Midwest, right?
It was scheduled that at one time, yes.
So I guess
How
I'm
do
just
you
not.
feel, Jim, about reservations?
If there's a way of making more money with it, I'm all for it, but I
me
don't
too.
understand that enough to know, to have a solid idea. But where we have people that actually live there 24/7, 365 days a year, we're taking away from what Danny's saying. I see that.
But they also pay rent year round.
But we also have regulations that we shouldn't do that to. So.
Okay. Our regulations state that only in designated areas, which that is a designated area.
Okay.
And I just.
I guess where I'm at is that I'm ready to do what you asked me to do, but I'm I need more direction as far as
I
a
would like-
consensus.
I would like to know if switching all of our Airbnbs, all of the cabins to Airbnb, if we are going to make more money doing it, and how much we project we would make by going to the online system. Is it going to outweigh the cost? That's what I would like to know.
Outweigh the cost. I'm not following you.
As far as the software or the
Airbnb.
monetary cost to
That's not how that works.
manage it.
It's not.
No, that Airbnb takes, they put, so say it's $55 a night, they put
But
cleaning.
they're two separate things, right? The Airbnb are we going to make more money by going to Airbnb?
What's it say on what the park report? What did it say we made on Airbnb?
I think you'd have to go to my last,
Very little.
where I have the road.
Because we have one cabin that's on there.
I have a spreadsheet on that, I think.
I mean, that'll tell you right there. We have one cabin on Airbnb and it's made, was it 5,000, I think, maybe?
No. Do you have that pulled up, David?
So far this year, it's $1,328.
And the other, how many do we have there? 6?
6, correct.
So the other 5 that made how much?
11,970.
Okay.
So more than 2,000 per cabin on the others.
So,
And that's what I'm asking is, are we going to make more money by moving everything to Airbnb?
well, yeah,
Or not.
they manage it too. Like, so if it's a really sought after time, the price of it, they fluctuate that time, or you can stop it from happening. They have a calendar. I don't understand why we don't have.
Why is the one being an Airbnb and then not making anything now? What do you think? What's your reasoning there, I guess?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that I don't think it's being pushed hard enough. I don't know.
What's it pushed through? How is it pushed, the Airbnb that we have?
Pushed through Airbnb, isn't it? That's how it's marketed.
It's marketed by them through their program.
Yeah, you get on Airbnb and you just look it up.
But I mean, that's my question in regards to that. In regards to the online software deal, I would like to know what we're looking at for our projected benefits by going to that versus what our cost is going to be in relation to it. They're two separate things.
But that's what I'm saying. How's it going to hurt? How would it hurt anything?
Well, if we spend, I don't want to throw out a number because I don't know what it costs.
What a software management system for that would cost.
Yeah.
The first year, it always costs more than the upkeep years because of the
Initial purchase.
initial and the data entry on it.
I'm not arguing against it, Danny. What I'm arguing for is that we actually look at those numbers and make the decision based off of that instead of just making a decision to move forward with this and then coming back a year from now or 2 years from now and going, well, we were making this at the park and now we're making this. That's all I'm looking at, Danny.
So we got swimming approved out there, right, Sean?
We got the permission to go out and get it approved once we design a plan for it, yes.
And we anticipate that's going to cost how much?
The design engineering was what? I believe is $50-some thousand for that project.
And we haven't okayed that, correct?
No.
So if you look on Airbnb right now, what I'm seeing, it shows a picture of the cabin. It calls it a tiny home and leasing. Cheerful cabin on 2,000 acre fishing lake. $65 a night for the nights I put in. I just picked some dates in the middle of June.
Are we really pushing it?
How do we make them push it more?
I'm gonna try to. I can't even find it. I don't even know where it's at. So, Sean, so you said our main focus was to get locals in there?
Like I said, the system that we're under right now is more attractive to locals because they have first opportunity at prime locations because of their proximity to the park.
As in full-time people is what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about you live in Mound City, you want to pull a camper down there. You live in Parker, you want to pull a camper down there. You have a distinct advantage over someone in Overland Park, North
I
Kansas
guess my
City.
point is you can't call, I mean, I don't schedule a lot, but a lot of families schedule, right? I mean, they try to look a month ahead, maybe. You can't get on there and look and see a month from now if you can reserve that spot, right?
As far as the kiosk, I believe you can rent in advance of the date. How far in advance of that date? If you came down to it and said, Memorial Day weekend, I want to get these 3 campsites. How far in advance you can schedule that? I believe it's the 12-month period. You can go ahead and pay for those.
Beneficial if we went down there, because I mean, I don't understand how it all works, Danny. If we,
But as far as
closed one of our meetings there and went and toured and had it explained to us and looked around.
And I will admit to, quite honestly, it's been so long since I've been around that kiosk, I can't explain all of the different data solutions for that kiosk.
Well, I had a guy come up and tell me, because he listens to the meetings, and he said that he had to go in prior to a Friday and pay on that Wednesday. And so he had to pay on Wednesday, Thursday to get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so that his family or his mother or somebody should bring her camper down here and put it on a Friday. So he had to reserve on that Wednesday and pay for Wednesday, Thursday to get Friday, Saturday.
In order to get the time allowed, and I believe you're correct, in order to get the time allowed, if you wanted a holiday weekend, you'd have to rent it up to it in order to reserve that, because your reservations, I believe, may start at the date you enter into the kiosk.
Right.
But I can clarify that.
And that's right. And that makes no sense to me, but yeah.
What else?
I'm gonna keep going. I only got a lot. Anything on the city compactor sites? Do we have no answers on that?
As far as the city and lake community compactor sites, I'd have to ask Mark if he's had a chance to review it.
I've reviewed the agreement. I haven't set up times with the cities yet to enter into these memorandum of understanding.
Do you think it would be beneficial if the commissioner from that district sat with you in that meeting?
I think
when you go to those cities?
I think that'd be extremely helpful. They know the players better if there's any pushback.
But that's where my part is. We brought every single city and lake community in here and we set them right here. And we took time out of our meeting and asked them to give us feedback, and not one of them did, correct?
We've had feedback, but I don't know that it was from that meeting. I think it was from other items such as a want to move one compactor or damage at another site or maintenance issues at a third site.
How
But
are we
it's-
gonna put this on the cities, so when this is a countywide trash company?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I want to get figured out. We keep talking about it. Either we do it or we don't.
All I'm looking for from this, Jim, is that we have agreements in place with them saying who's taking care of what. and things along that nature, not that we're pushing any additional things onto them. How do you feel?
Like I said, I mean, I'm good with that, but I don't know how we can push it off on them because it's a countywide project.
And
I
that's,
think the HOAs now that not everybody can go in them, or Linn Valley's not allowed.
but they have different
They have a
things
different-
already.
They'd have a different agreement with us
Correct.
than them, but any city, I mean, I don't know how we can actually force them into
I
anything.
think that's what's in that proposed agreement that we have, is the city's taking control of them more than they are. So if that's not what the three of you want, that's probably not what we want to push out to
Well,
anybody.
that's kind of what I did. I mean, I don't know that, that we can force it upon them.
I don't know.
An agreement, it's a bi-party agreement. So if they, right now, they provide the staffing, they open and close it and all that, but the equipment still belongs to the county and all that maintenance responsibility, the warranty stays with the county. It was to not so much change anything as to formalize it a little bit more.
That's what I was looking for.
And that's what my,
Wasn't there a clause in that somewhere though, or proposal to make it where the city's got the licenses on each place and
The permitting and
The
stuff.
permitting and the process.
They have the staff there that can respond to whenever they,
that would be a change from what we have now.
one small change.
Correct.
And that was
Now
just
it's all ours.
one less burden on the county and not a huge burden on the city. They do everything anyway already.
Well, and the permitting being owned by the city would also be more direct because they have the employee. So if there are site issues, they can oversee the site issue as far as what's being taken in, what's being left around the lot, how the lot's being taken care of, and what's being pushed out. Obviously, what's being brought to us or what we're picking up, we're in control of, and we would be on our license responsible for. But it does seem to me that the city or lakes owning the permit, whether there's a financial responsibility or not, just the permit itself, it does seem reasonable to give them that control of that site because our people don't have control. We go through and do the inspections with the state, and the state can tell us all these things need fixed, but then we're creating a disconnect between the licensee and the actual operators.
that's where, that's where I'm at. I think that we own the equipment. We do all that. We provide it to them and they have control of where they want the site and the employees they put there. I mean, I think, and they make their own times. I don't see why we try to control that, and this permitting would be their duty.
That if they wanted to move, if they were the ones in control of or that had the permit, that would be up to them to get a permit to put it in a different place. Is that
Correct.
where you're going?
Yeah, I mean, and I
Because
think
right now the permits say where it is and it's all under us.
all we do is give them the equipment and haul and drop off and maintain that. I mean, I don't think that's,
We pay a little bit to each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's maintenance, electrical. I think at most of the sites there's also a porta potty or a porta john at those sites. So.
I still think it would be beneficial if we're meeting with county councilor and the cities on those meetings to help try to spur it along. Are you guys okay with that?
Bringing everybody in. Or what?
No, I'm saying that if we're going to them, then, you
Sure.
and Mark would go in your district to the municipalities where this is involved.
have we already not sent this proposal out to them?
Well, I think the proposal's only been a working document inside our county. I don't think it's been sent out to the cities or the lakes. It's been discussed, but I don't think
It's been
paperwork's been
discussed for
sent.
almost a year. That's my,
I think it was actually written up a month before the last county councilor resigned, And then it got in the pile of things to do with the cities. We only have one kind of problem with Mound City, but all the rest of the cities, I think, have seen it. They're just waiting for us to formally present it to them, which we could do with a commissioner present or without. It's kind of up to you.
I don't care how we want to do it.
With a commissioner present? Is that okay, Danny?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to get moving forward on it, get answers.
Okay. That's how I see us getting those, right? Okay.
Then the airport, I know we talked about this multiple times.
Believe our airport committee is waiting on some answers as far as taxation to have their next meeting, and we were outsourcing that, looking for information to bring back to the committee so they could finish their work.
When will their next meeting be?
I do not have a meeting date set. As soon as it is, I can bring it to you or put it out in the minutes or my agenda.
We still looking for stuff? The old jail? You got a plan on that?
I haven't heard what our plan on that is. As far as I know, the garage area is still being used for storage. We did have some trees down, one on that property just north of the building that we'll have to take care of in the future, but I haven't heard of any discussion as far as what we want to do with that building.
I still think it would be usable office space. If you two wanted to have it demoed down, I would vote against it, but I'm not standing here kicking and screaming at you.
I just think with the obstacles that we dealt with the elderly center and the judicial building over here, I just don't see it being feasible. I don't think we'll get contractors in here unless we pay a lot of money.
Have mold issue in there also.
We did that mold test and it stated that there is mold in it. Then we shut all electricity off in it right now, right?
Correct.
So
You want to make a motion?
I don't know what we're making a motion on. I'm just discussing it.
Well, a motion would move us along in the process, correct?
Well, what do we want to do? I mean,
I told you what I want to do. I think you two have both stated that you want to do something different, and
is it possible to split it off the grounds and sell the buildings separate from the courthouse grounds? Or, I mean, does anybody know?
Well, it's probably surplus property now. It's real estate. It's some kind of property.
Well, we got that in the old attorney's office too. So those buildings are
Yes.
just sitting there pretty vacant.
That might be an instruction to give to Public Works or Economic Development or somebody to see if there's repurposing of the buildings before you start deciding to tear stuff down and see if there's some money to be had.
I would be more in favor of that, but I thought that from our previous discussions that you guys wanted to just tear it down.
I don't want to sink any more county money into it. That's just where I'm at. I don't necessarily want to tear it down. I mean, if there's an option to develop it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we allow, or Evergy allows us to sit on their lake and, run a business, a campsite. So, I mean, are we able to
We're going to lease it?
lease it, bring people in to fix it, run a business out of it? Right now it's doing nothing besides a mold and grow site. So I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm just trying to throw out their ideas.
I got email from Pam. She's on her way over with a software renewal agreement.
Okay. Do we want to see if we can split it off and look at selling it?
I think we should look at all options. I mean, in my opinion,
Okay, but you're not in favor of us remodeling it?
I'm not.
Okay, and you're not either?
On top of that, we still have the courthouse that needs to be remodeled.
Understand. So who are we gonna assign it to?
And I don't put on Sean.
What are you looking to do? Are you looking?
Options.
Okay. Well, how about we look at you letting Jessica and I get with Mark and look with our legal options and bring you back what's possible. And then you make your decision on which direction you want us to go.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I'm just
As far as
Okay.
lease, purchase, renovation, some rentals, the landowner has to accommodate the business, so there'd be other things we need to talk about, mold mitigation. Let us get with Mark and tell you what's possible before we try to make a decision and go down a path and hit a doorway we can't get through.
Okay.
And if that's all right,
So we're
we'll,
directing them to do that? I'm fine with that as well. Okay.
Okay.
You have anything else, Danny?
I could keep going, but I think we've all had enough maybe today.
okay. Thank you, commissioners.
You, Pam?
Pam Cannon, Mapping Department. We are at the end of our 3-year agreement for our mapping software. It's ESRI, Environmental Systems Research Institute. It's for our enterprise license agreement. And it's a 3-year commitment. They lock the price in for 3 years. This would be our 3rd contract cycle. And every 3 years they raise it. So anyway, now it is going to be $29,300 per year. Last year it was $27,500, and when we first purchased it, it was $25,000 per year. So they sent me a renewal quote in November, and I said, it's not expiring yet. Why am I getting this? And they said, well, it's for budget purposes. I said, we've already did our budget for this year. So anyway, they've already raised it since that quote in November. So I don't want to wait any longer and get it any more expensive. So
Okay.
I'm here for your approval to renew that.
And we have that in your budget?
Yes. If you want a highlight of what all it gets used for, I can give you that information now.
If you could, yeah.
Okay. So with our software, we do all of our mapping with it for our splits and combinations, all of our land use reports for the, excuse me, for the appraisal purposes for ag land. We use it for analysis. We've used it for our surveys, our public surveys for the comprehensive plan and other surveys. We do all of the plats that are filed with the Register of Deeds. I do all the 911 addressing and maintain the road center lines and the political boundaries when those change, the zoning, like I said, the comp plan, any new maps for that. We have, we do mapping for the road and bridge, just like you just increased a new district that showed more of Danny's area for the road departments. I do all those different mapping things for any changes like that. We have web maps or internet maps now, and as well as mobile apps for the phone. We have the map the Register of Deeds uses. It's been used 3,088 times. There's been, we have 253 map layers on our portal. We've got 35 web maps for different specific departments, as well as 15 public maps that we have links onto our county website. some of the mobile apps we use. We recently, the sheriff's office asked if we could do something for cattle owners. So we have an app where an owner, say, Jim, you have several pastures, you can go in and identify which pastures you have cattle on. So if the cattle are out, the sheriff's office knows who to contact. We also use it for noxious weed spraying, sanitation inspections, home sites, and the new permit software uses our REST services, which is part of our portal and our enterprise license, our server. We do analysis for it, for examples like how many miles of road surfaces by district or grader operator, et cetera. We use it for reports for ag use with the soil type changes in acres. And again, the surveys, we've used it for the comp plan when we were doing the housing ones. And we also use it continually for committee applications if someone wants to be on a committee. The zoning, we've had 713 views of that web map and 179 views of the mobile app. That's just some of the different things that it's used for.
And what was it called again? What's the company name?
ESRI, ESRI, and it stands for Environmental Systems Research Institute. It's our enterprise license agreement, and it will lock that price in for 3 years.
Any other questions for Pam? I'll make a motion that we allow Pam to spend the $29,300 on the 3-year agreement with Esri for her software renewal for the mapping department.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to enter into the 3-year agreement in the amount of $29,300 with Esri for the mapping software renewal. Is there any discussion?
Do you still set as the, is that the board you set on that deals with that?
No, I'm on the Kansas Association of Mappers.
Oh, okay, so it's not
statewide organization.
Okay.
And the majority of the people that are in that organization use this.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Have you guys heard anything else about the senior center in Parker voucher deal?
Yeah, I got an email this week that she closed the center down. Everybody's taken care of with home meals, and she's rigging the voucher deal with Price Chopper at Paola. She's got that, and she's working on others.
Thank you, Pam.
And I had went by Parker. I was over that way, so I stopped by there around lunch and talked to the lady they had running it there, and I think she agreed that like she wished it could stay open, and but they had placed her in Paola, I think, or somewhere, so she's taken care of. And when I was there wasn't anybody there. I think it was the right decision. I know.
I'd seen what Mrs. Rocker sure thought that was the thing to do, and she sent me an email Thursday that Friday was their last day. They was going to get their equipment out of there.
So do we rent that building, David? We rent that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And use it for elections.
Yeah, it's ours. I do elections out of it too. It's actually rented quite a bit. I think.
That's what she said. So she said that it's
to the city clerk or something. I think that's who she was going to return the key to.
I don't remember. I'm not involved with that part of it.
And then the last thing I want to talk about or mention or ask, I guess, is the Historic Society committee. I know we'd talked in public about, we were presented some signs and by 2 different people that both are part of museums, and I voiced my opinion on it, and I had asked him to look in to see how we could make this work and what we could do. And
Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about it today, but I did some research and I got a resolution done by the commission, I think when Jim was a chairperson, on the topic of advisory committees or advisory commissions, and that the commission actually considered and approved, at least in principle, advisory commission, I think, on a historical society or historical commission. Do you remember that, Jim?
Not for sure, but it's
well, it's basically get volunteers to apply just like they do for the planning and zoning and other commissions. And they would be the central point of contact for all the different, in this case, historical societies, to submit their applications for some kind of annual budget. Right now, I think the commission may pass out $8,000 per. Five different, so 40,000 per year. And unfortunately, the way that's done, it doesn't have a real mechanism for coming back from these 501c3 entities to say where it was spent and how it was spent and that sort of thing, which was the issue you had raised. So for transparency and accountability purposes, there is a mechanism in place now for the commission after it takes it under consideration to set up a historical commission, and these members, you'd have to decide what these museums and what these types of organizations would be. There'd be a little bit of a kind of a conflict of interest if a museum member or officer of the museum were to come in and be a voting member of the Linn County
Committee.
The committee, because they'd have their own interest at heart and that sort of thing. So the way the resolution was drafted is there would be like a sponsor or a staff person who would do this. I think it talked about the Historical Society would name the Economic Development Director as the staff person who would sort of own that commission, much like Planning and Zoning owns the Planning and Zoning Committee. Museums are supposed to be for drawing the public here. It's an economic development function, but it could be Public Works, it could be someone else. They are the ones that would be non-voting members on the commission. They just go there and set it up. They screen the applicants for membership. The museum people can attend as, let's call them ex officio members, much like my position here is a member of the commission, but in a non-voting status. So the decisions on applying for commission money would be voted on and make recommendations to this commission, and you decide to allocate the money to that commission, actually to the staff person, and then the checks would be prepared and issued to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So far? So it would require a couple steps. One is to vote on establishing a historical commission or Linn County Historical Society. Decide 3 or 5 members, solicit the public for membership. It goes through a staff person to approve, submit the list, much like you do for planning and zoning. It's the same thing. It's an advisory commission. And then they would try and attract the other museum people in as members, but non-voting members, because we're talking about money for that purpose. And they submit their budgets there, and then the staff person would tell you each budget year what they want the money for and what they spent it on last year. Because these are 503Cs, they have their own tax accounting and all that, so they have money from everywhere else, and they may not want to share that with everybody else. They don't want to share their how much money they get from their budget. They have to file a tax return, but they don't want to tell everybody how they're doing or how well or how much they need the money.
Right.
So it'd be the commission's decision to set up an advisory committee, whatever, for a historical society, solicit members, and then the different museums would report to them. Identical to an applicant for a conditional use permit or a zoning application, same thing. And then the staff person does the research, makes a recommendation, the committee makes a recommendation, you decide how much you want to spend.
Okay.
So we'd ask them to put the staff together, or the committee together or we have to?
We would appoint.
You'd appoint, but the staff would solicit the members to put it out to the public, announce that we're creating a commission, looking for interested citizens. These are the kind of criteria. The criteria would be simple. Anybody that's a Linn County resident except a member of a museum, an employee or an owner or something like that. They're on the commission too. They have a voice. That's what ex officio means. They have a voice, no vote when it comes to spending money. They certainly have a vote when it comes to choosing a direction of the Historical Society. But when it comes to the commission passing a recommendation to you, the people receiving the money shouldn't be calling the shots. It would
Right.
be the impartial members.
Okay.
So how can we do it? Run an ad in the newspaper about asking for?
Yes.
I think that's important to have. I think that we have to have that before budget.
How many members?
I don't know. Let's start with 3, maybe. I think it's gonna be kind of difficult, don't you?
I do too.
To find people,
One from each district.
or, we run an ad and then, we each kind of take the lead on it and go talk to some people and see if we can get interested and go forward from there.
Okay.
But we are into budget time now. I don't know how you're gonna get something like that put together before budgets.
Well, I don't know how we can just write a $40,000 check to an individual and say, here you go, and call that a budget. So, I guess we have to move fast. I don't know. I've been talking about it for 4 years and nothing ever gets done. And I'm responsible for the budget. So, I don't know, what other options do we have? Deny the budget?
Up to you guys on what you want to do on it, but I'm just telling you, it's by 2 months from now, I've got to have everything settled on revenue neutral and know where we are, which means budgets need to all be in before that.
Right.
I've got messages going out to departments today or tomorrow with copies of their budget information that tells them the deadlines. So.
Okay.
It might be ambitious to get that
Well,
commission set up and organized and get the
So do we
museums in.
be prepared to make a decision on it next week?
I would like to. I just think the budget, I was really vocal on it last year, and, I think we all stuck together. We found a lot of stuff that was not being done correctly, did we not? And we did cut some budgets, and I think that's important. But this is one that's huge to me, and I put a lot of effort and energy into it, and got cussed out a lot too by some of the members. But I just want to be able to make it better. I wanted to.
What 5 museums do we fund currently?
I have to look at the list. I don't.
Trading Post,
Pleasanton, Mound City, Parker, Lacing,
Linn
Trading Post.
Yeah. And they all get the same amount of money, and some of them are open 5 days a week. Some of them only on call. Some of them have a massive building. Some have a little building. I just don't understand how or where the equation came from to give them all the same amount of money. And that's not even just because you're a museum. There's other societies that should be relying on some of the county funds to beautify our county, I guess, if you will, for history.
Okay. We add that to the agenda for next week. Right. Anything else?
So just some information for you. Write this on.
We're going to make that a 3-member board. Is that what you said?
We're going to discuss it next week.
Unless start with 3. I think it's going to be kind of difficult. If we get 5, why not? But don't you agree? Unless they're just people jumping to be on it.
Pardon me?
Unless they're just people jumping to be on the Historic Society board.
So you want to let people jump.
So we had our benefits consultant bid out our health insurance earlier this year. Got the results in. We got a bid from our current carrier, Blue Cross, and 3 other companies that bid in various parts of it. Blue Cross was still the cheapest one without changing any coverage, and we're looking at a roughly 3.5% decrease from them this year's plan. So I think it probably did do some good bidding it out and maybe got their attention a little bit, but for the coverage we have, they still were the best deal for us. Just wanted to let you know where we're at on that one.
What does the 3.5% increase add up to roughly? No.
Well, the max amount was for 2 million. Roughly 2.5, probably.
70,000
So
would be 2 million.
90,000 or something.
So yeah, $90,000 range.
Okay.
But we had several years with fairly level premiums, and then we got hit pretty hard in the last couple of years, so at least came back down some.
Okay.
It's an improvement over the current plan.
All right, anything else? I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Also gonna.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.